The Xbox 360 gave us some of the greatest games ever made, but not every game from that era has stood the test of time. These are the Xbox 360 titles that I believe still genuinely hold up today and are just as easy to recommend to you today as they were 15 to 20 years ago. And I grabbed way too many games off the shelf when I was picking titles for this video, so if you want a part 2, let me know in the comments below. I've got a second stack ready to go. But no further delays, let's get into the list. And honestly, I think one of the very best examples to start us off here is Portal 2. Valve doesn't put out a tremendous number of games, but when they do, it's worth paying attention because they're usually fantastic. And this is certainly no exception. It's in contention for, I believe, the greatest puzzle game ever made. The pacing of this game is fantastic. I feel like it keeps you engaged throughout really well, and there's a sense of humor woven throughout the plot that I think provides some levity between difficult, brain-busting challenges as the game gets harder and harder as you progress. And this is not a bad-looking game either. It has super high-quality assets, better than you typically see in 7th generation titles. And while it's not a perfect lock, it generally maintains its 30 FPS target. It's a smooth experience throughout. I'm sure you know that the Portal games are good already, but if you haven't played them or you want to go back and revisit them, Xbox 360 is a perfectly fine place to do so. But it's not the very best game on today's list. No sir, that honor is held by the next game we're going to take a look at. For the gamer with a refined palate, looking for the absolute cream of the crop of the 7th generation. Truly, you can do no better than Dead or Alive Extreme 2. Regular viewers of the channel may be asking themselves, will he ever tire of this stupid joke? And unfortunately the answer is probably not. But, speaking of Dead or Alive 5 is actually fantastic. Yes, it does have some of the characteristic fan service present in all of the titles in the series, but if you're an OG fan of the Xbox consoles, you know that Dead or Alive was a fighting game franchise that you could rely on for top-tier visuals that genuinely push the limits of what the console was capable of, while simultaneously delivering buttery smooth performance. This is a 60 FPS game, despite having some of the highest fidelity character models and best character animations of the entire generation. Team Ninja cooked up a truly savory dish for us here. So if you have even a casual passing interest in fighting games, and you're not put off by a little bit of fan service, this is genuinely one of the best titles of the whole generation. Another title with a mostly locked frame rate, one that surprised me in the last video I did about Xbox 360 performance, was Skyrim of all games. Be sure to check that video out after this one, we go a bit more in depth, but seriously, Xbox 360 is actually a surprisingly decent way to experience Skyrim. In fact, in my dedicated review that I did for the game on 360, a lot of people were commenting that this is actually their preferred version of the game. There were some tweaks to things as the newer versions came out, some artistic liberties were taken with things like color grading. And yeah, there's a decent little handful of people out there that just prefer this more nostalgic legacy version of the game. And you can, if interested, scoop up the Legendary Edition if you want all of the Dawnguard and Hearthfire DLC. Forza Motorsport 4, honestly, to me, could pass as an early Xbox One game. It looks that good to me. And same vein as Dead or Alive 5, this game, despite its high-quality visuals, maintains a locked 60 FPS during gameplay. I mean, a lot of these games, dude, it really doesn't even feel like you're compromising playing these games on 360. Super high fidelity models with crisp visuals running at a stable 60 FPS. Hell, we don't even get that in modern games sometimes. And yes, while these are some of the standout exceptions of 7th generation titles without performance issues, I think they really deserve some love as they make the visit back to the 7th generation completely painless. And Forza Motorsport 4 is just a fantastic video game that any fan of racing titles should revisit. And Forza Horizon gets an honorable mention here too, as it is also really fun. I think it would be easy to assume for people not in the know that you need to make some serious compromises on visuals in order to achieve stable performance on such limited hardware. But Halo 4 shows us that with some creativity and ingenuity from the development team, You could create Xbox 360 games that still look pretty damn good in 2026. And using some clever techniques to almost bake in and pre-render some of the more advanced looking lighting effects, they were able to reduce the computational load on the console such that this game maintains almost all the time a 30 FPS target. That is exceptionally impressive for this hardware and its limited memory capacity. And while this is certainly not the best Halo game in the franchise, it's one of the best looking games on the console, and I believe it's very much worth a revisit today and certainly deserving of a spot on today's list. And this list is far from over, my friends. If we want yet another example of a truly great game with what feels like basically no compromises to visuals or performance, we can pass the torch next to Soul Calibur 4. Not only does this excellent weapons-based fighting game maintain a locked 60 FPS on the console, but it does so with a native resolution that's 40% higher than PlayStation 3 with additional lighting effects. And while the final result is scaled back down to 720p, what we end up with is a very sharp image adding a layer of polish to the already high quality character and background assets. Stack on top of that the incredible and engaging gameplay and one of the most robust character creation tools of this era, and the result is a title that even casual fighting game fans cannot afford to miss. Also, you can play as Yoda from Star Wars, which I found kind of amusing. And these genuinely attractive, high-definition games are not nearly as rare as you may expect, considering we're looking back in time 20 years at such relatively weak hardware. And I think the 2013 Tomb Raider reboot is a pretty good example of that. We do give up a bit of performance here, but Crystal Dynamics really delivered with this reboot trilogy, 2 of which are on Xbox 360. And if you're looking for a highly cinematic experience that's graphically impressive and really shows off what the hardware can do, I think this first reboot of Lara's Adventures is a great place to start. But even more impressive than that, astounding even that they got it running on Xbox 360 hardware, is Rise of the Tomb Raider, the sequel to the last game. This is in my personal top 5 subjective, most visually impressive games on the system, standing proudly in the upper echelon of graphically impressive 7th generation games alongside titles like Forza Motorsport 4 and Halo 4. And this is one of those games for me, and I think we all have them, where when you first see it you can hardly believe that video games are even able to do that now. When this game came out, I was expecting titles to hit this level on Xbox One, but I did not expect to see stuff like this on Xbox 360. And I think it's one of the better representations of how well the visuals on 360 can hold up still today. But I don't think Rise of the Tomb Raider would be my personal pick for the best looking game of the generation, though it is close and ultimately hard to decide. I think if I had to pick one, it would probably be Alien Isolation. Not only is this one of the all-time great survival horror games, but it is truly mind-boggling how good this looks even on older hardware. I think that the cramped spaces, the lack of lighting in some areas, and the complete absence of foliage really gave them extra budget to play with on the graphical front. And man, did they use it well. If you're a fan of survival horror, you probably already know about this one, but if you like spooky stuff and you haven't played it, I highly recommend this title. But super turbo high fidelity graphics are not the only way that a game can still look good today, and I think Telltale's The Walking Dead really illustrates that point well. This game, all the Telltale games really, use this cel-shaded, almost comic book looking art style, and it ages really well, as a lot of cel shading does. But it's really not about the visuals. They look cool, and if you're into that style, that's awesome. But for this one, it's really the storytelling, the world building, the characters, and voice acting. It's the substance of the game itself that makes this one age so well. And while it's certainly not all sunshine and rainbows in any of the Walking Dead worlds, and this one will tear your heart out. If you're looking for a deep, rich story and you don't mind it being set in a post-apocalyptic, zombie-infested world, this is one you really need to check out, and a title that I don't think gets enough praise. And if what you're looking for is something that is truly unique, Lost Odyssey is not only one of the best RPGs ever made, it's literally an all-timer made by Mistwalker Studios, who's headed up by the creator of Final Fantasy. but physically at least, it remains an exclusive title to the Xbox 360 console. Though I say physical on purpose, as it is backwards compatible on the newer consoles, and you can buy it digitally on Series X, but the physical game with its 4 discs and thick full-color manual is still exclusive to the 360, and dude, if you're an RPG fan, this is one that you truly do not want to miss. Again, this wasn't just a great 7th gen RPG, it's one of the best JRPGs ever made, and it's honestly kind of a travesty that it's not more well known than it is, and more available for the masses to play and experience. But if this is your first time hearing about it and you're an RPG fan, you can thank me later, do yourself a favor, and give this one a try. But it's not the only RPG of this generation that I think doesn't get the praise that it deserves. The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings is highly regarded and did receive great reviews, but you just don't really hear about it anymore as it lives eternally in the shadow of its newer, bigger brother, The Witcher 3. But I implore you, do not sleep on The Witcher 2. This is a masterclass in narrative, and the choices you make genuinely have massive, ripple effect consequences down the line as you pass through the further acts of the game. The world is dark and the morality is gray, and I was genuinely surprised, I'm telling you, how mature this game is. Within the first few minutes, there is full-on nudity and extreme graphic violence, the likes of which you do not expect to see on console. So if you want something that goes all in and fully commits to being an adult RPG experience with a deep, fleshed out world, you really owe it to yourself to give The Witcher 2 a try. Let me know if you guys want that part 2 to this video. I think it'd be more in like the hidden gems lane with some lesser known titles that might be slightly more interesting. Let me know what games would be on your list for games that have held up really well. And let me know what you thought of my choices also. You can like and subscribe if you want to tell YouTube you want to see more stuff like this. But that's about all I got for you today, boys. Thanks for stopping by.